to one another this morning. Let's all glance with the close eyes of our heads and pray. We bring to our mind that form of the Divine Mother Saraswati Devi. As she is dressed in her white clothing, her white ornaments, seated on the white lotus flower. We bring her that form to our mind. Receive her blessings this morning for all who gathered here and all who are not here this morning with us. Om Namo Narayana. Om Namo Narayana. Hari Om Narayana. Everybody. Om Namo Narayana. Om Namo Narayana. Hari Om Narayana. Vakratma Mahakaya Surikoti Samprava Nirvignam Kurme Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada Jnana Dehi Smriti Dehi Vidya Vidyati Devate Pratishtana Kavidam Dehi Saraswati Namo Namah. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Nagendra Haraya Trilochana Bhashmangaradhaya Maheshwaraya Nityaya Shridhaya Digambaraya Tasmai Nakaraya Namah Shivaya. Neelam Bhujam Shamaram Komalam Sita Samaropitu Vamabham Pano Mahasayaka Charu Chapam Namami Ramam Raghuvansanatham Atulit Baladhamam Swarna Shailabhadeham Dhanujavan Krishnadunyanamadraganyam Sakala Gunanidhanam Vanaramadhisham Raghupati Priya Bhaktam Vatujatam Namami. Prem Suro Syawar Ramachandra ki jai, Pawan Sutta Hanuman ki jai. So join me in mantra itself. In relation to Saraswati Mata, as you all know, that Saraswati Devi Jayanti is coming up this month. And we embarked upon that mission to be able to narrate and to recite and to bring teachings, the relevance and the greatness of Saraswati Devi. Mother Saraswati, she goes by many names. Veena Pani, Brahmani, Saraswati, Sharada, Gayatri, Savitri. All these are names of Saraswati Devi. Matangi Mata. But just as you have names, you have forms as well. So as we all know, the Saraswati Devi that we see sitting on the white lotus flower with the swan in the hand and so on, is one form of Saraswati. According to our information, it is said that Saraswati Devi, there's another form that is called Mata and Mata. There's another form that we call Gayatri Devi. Everybody knows Gayatri, right? Now the girl is coming in, right? Gayatri, that Divine Mother, we will discuss on another day. But then there's a particular form of Saraswati, incarnated as a particular form, the Savitri Devi. So I want to just bring a little discourse, a little Katharisman, the relevance of this form of Saraswati known as Savitri. It is said that Savitri, there was this king by the name of Ashwapati. Ashwapati, he ruled justly, and he ruled that kingdom very piously. But unfortunately, he had no children, none whatsoever. And he made a promise, so he made a vow, and he began to worship Gayatri Devi. Gayatri Mata, he began to worship her every day. And for every day he would have offered 100,000 times he would have chanted Om Bhurvasvatam Sarvabharenyam Bhargo Devasavimi Dhyo Yona Yachuna. Every day, 24 hours. And that continued for 18 years. And after the 18th year, that divine form of the mother, Gayatri Mata, she manifested before him. And she said to him that, okay, I'm pleased with your devotion. Ask for a boon. And so he asked. He said, O Divine Mother, if you are really, really pleased with my devotion, then bless me with a son. I have no children. Bless me with a son. And then Gayatri, she said to him, listen, in consultation with Brahma, Brahma would have instructed me that you, a daughter, will be born from you rather than a son. Nevertheless, a child will be born. So he was happy, he accepted that. So it was by the doings or the destiny or the orchestration of Brahmadeva for this child to be born in the home of Ashwapati. This child eventually was born, and her name was Savitri. Savitri grew up in that home. Now remember, Gayatri's blessings would have brought Savitri Devi. Another form of Gayatri, another form of Saraswati. And time would have went by, and this daughter, she grew up in this kingdom. But she grew up with all the qualities of the divine mother. She grew up with all the qualities of a Devi. So she was very, very beautiful and pious and everything that goes with it. And one day she came before her father. And the father now realized that she is of the age of marriage. But how come no one has ever asked to marry my daughter? She's so beautiful. She's everything that you would think about in terms of being a lady. How come no one came to ask to marry my daughter? And at one point in time he decided that seeing that none came forward and asked for you to get married, you will now try and seek a husband. Find someone who is suitable for you. Find someone who is compatible to you. Find someone you can relate to. Find someone that you can love. And so admonishing so much teachings to the daughter, he sent her to go and find a suitable husband. He called on all his ministers and he said to them, prepare golden chariot, prepare the best of everything, and let her leave and find someone. She would have left the palace. She went in search. Kingdom after kingdom she went. She found no one suitable. She carried on looking for a long time. Then one day she went into the forested area. And there she would have seen another king. But in this time, this king who had lost his kingdom. And he's living in the forest land with his wife and his son in the forest land. But this king was blind. Seeing this situation, she thought to herself, having, probably she would have inquired and whatever, that this son is the best person for her to be her husband. So she was very happy. She returned quickly to the palace and she said to the king, the father, that Pa Vidaji, I found a son. At that very set time, Narad Muni came to that kingdom of Ashwapati. And seeing Narad Muni, she went and she prostrated to Narad Muni, Narad would bless her, and all of these things would happen. And so Narad Muni, listening to the conversation from the daughter to the father, he became worried. And he said to the king, he says, O king, O Rajan, that your daughter is about to make a serious blunder, mistake in her life, by marrying that person that she says that she wants to marry. Try your best, O king, for her mind, change her mind, ask her to probably get somebody else. So the father, very worried, he went to the daughter. And he tried. Narad Muni had said to the father that if she marries that guy in the forest land, then his lifespan from today has only 1 year to live. So do not allow her to marry this individual because her marriage life will be very short. So they went to this Savitri and they said to her, listen, if you marry this person, your marriage life is going to be very short. And they tried their endeavor best to change her mind. And she said to them, that in this life that we live, marriage or having that person as your partner or your husband in this sense, she says to the father that our Dharma dictates that it's only once. I have chosen this person, the son of the blind king in the forest, Satyavan, to be my husband. And I am not going to change my mind because this is my decision. You see, it starts in the mind. The process starts in the mind. You think of something and then you act. So she's saying to the father that no matter what you say, whatever anybody says, I am not going to accept anybody else as my husband. Save and accept Satyavan. Narad Muni, listening to the words of this young child, this little girl, Savitri, he felt happy. For he saw in her that level of commitment towards Dharma. He saw in her that level of love and devotion towards her husband, even though she was not married as yet. And he said to the father, he says, listen, there will be no good other than marrying her to September. The results may not be what we expect. So they got married. The father would have gone, the king would have gone to the forest lands and met with Satyavan's father and mother. Having approached the father said, listen, you're a king. You have a big kingdom. You have everything in your kingdom. I have lost my kingdom. I have nothing. Why would you want to put your daughter with my son? I have nothing in this world. I could barely even provide for myself and my family, much more to provide for your daughter. And so the conversation went on and eventually this Savitri Devi was able to talk and to say what she wanted to say, allowing both parents, both sides, to accept this proposal. Savitri Devi, having spoken to her intended-in-laws, she got them to understand. And this wedding took place. Savitri was now married to Satyavan. She came, and the king would have brought a lot of gifts. As the king, he distributed so much of the gifts in the forest land, all the sages, people living in the forest land. And to the king himself, the most priceless gift, the daughter was gifted. And so, all these things that was given brought happiness to Satyavan and his family. Savitri Devi began giving service to her in-laws and her husband. There's no way, but there wasn't any way that the parents would have said that Savitri would have fallen short in anything. The duty towards her husband was remarkable. The duty towards her father-in-law, her mother-in-law, none could have said anything on towards Savitri Devi. Savitri served them, time would have gone and it reached 1 year. 1 year. 1 year. Remember, Satyavan had 1 year to live. And Savitri Devi, that words of Narad Muni reverberated in her mind every single moment of the day, that your husband will die in 1 year time. What is the situation of Savitri? She was very worried. Four days before the 1 year, Savitri Devi took a vow. What was her vow? She said to herself that I would pray for the longevity of my husband's life. I will pray and I will offer all adoration and so on. And so within that 1 year time, that whole area, everybody came very close and attached to Savitri. Because she served everyone, not just the in-laws and her husband, but everyone in that area. She was very, very humble and so on. When she took this vow, the father-in-law went to her and he said, my dear child, what are you doing? This type of fasting and prayer that you are going to take is very hard and very tough. Staying without food, without drinking water, everything, just to maintain this breath. And she said to her father-in-law, it is my duty. It is my duty as the wife to ensure happiness of my husband. It is my duty as the wife to ensure that our relation remains intact. This is my responsibility. And she would have spoken like this to her father-in-law and said, listen, you have my blessings. You go ahead, do your fast. Within that 4 days, it is on Sabbath today, her body reduced. She became very, very weak. On the completion of this 4-day fast, on the final day now, Sabbath is very, very worried. And so, Satyavan, he came and he said that I am going to the forest to cut wood to bring back cooking. She held on to Satyavan. She said, no, don't go alone. I will go with you. He said, no, your place is not in the forest. Your place is home. He said, listen, my place is at your side. I am not stable. He said, I cannot give you permission to leave the home to go to the forest land. But it is very dangerous. It's a place that is not conducive for your style. It's not really truly for you to be there. And she insisted. For Satyavan himself did not know that was his last day. But she knew. She never said anything to him. And she insisted that she must go with Satyavan. He said, listen, go and seek my father's permission. If you want to accompany me, then go and seek my father's permission. She went to her father-in-law. And that father-in-law she was very, very close with. For that entire year, she would have served them dearly and never yet asked for one single favor. Never asked for anything. And that day she put her hands together and said to her father-in-law, that my husband is going in the forest lands. I have never left this home to go outside and see anything. I want to see the beauty of the forest. Very intelligent. I want to see the beauty of the forest lands. And again, the father-in-law would have tried to, ask her to stay behind because it was dangerous. She said, no. I really want to see, I'm desirous to see the beauty of this forest. And he said, okay. She accompanied Satyavan. He began cutting logs. Well, first they were gone, they gathered fruits and so on. And he began cutting trees and so on to gather this wood to bring back wood for fire. To offer for Hawan, for Puja, what are these things? To cook and so on. But while he was doing that, he began, this tiredness. He got so tired that he said to his wife, he says, Savitri, I've never felt this way before. I'm feeling so exhausted. I am feeling like needles are piercing my entire body. I don't think I am able to even stand. And she sat down and she placed Satyavan on her lap. He said to her, he says, I'm feeling very tired and sleepy, I want to take a rest before we go back home. And he closed her eyes, and shortly after, Savitri saw a form standing in front of her. Who was this person? Yamraj came before Savitri. And she said, what are you here for? He said, one thing I covered for the soul. I am here to extract the soul from Satyavan to take it to Yamraj. Savitri Devi was who? An incarnation of Saraswati. Savitri Devi an incarnation of Gayatri Mata as well, protection of Saraswati. So make no mistake about it, she was very intelligent. And she said to Yamraj, she says, listen, Putting everything aside, my duty, my responsibility is to be at the side of my husband. So Yamraj take his noose and so on, he wrap up his soul and ready to move. And as he would have left with the soul of Satyavan, Savitri Devi began to follow him. He went a long distance. And when he turned around, he saw Savitri. He would have reached as far as the Vaittarani river. And Savitri was behind him, following him. But there was this conversation all the time between Savitri and Yamraj. Yamraj said, listen, go back and perform the last rites of your husband. There is no need for you to follow me. There is no need for you to accompany me. Go back. For it is not possible for me to give you back the soul of Satyava. Savitri Devi. She said to Yamraj, says Yamraj, if there is one Dharma, now Yamraj also goes by the name of Dharmaraj, meaning the king of Dharma. So one way that she was able to get to the mind of Yamraj was on the principle of Dharma. And on the platform of Dharma, she said to Yamraj that wherever my husband should go, then I should be there. Because of Guru Bhakti, because of devotion, because of my penance and my tapasya, because of the blessings of my fasting, today I say to you, Yamraj, that I must follow my husband, wherever he goes. She said, I would have taken that 7 steps together with my husband, which means that I will be able to accompany my husband for not just one lifetime, 7 lifetimes. Oh, Yamraj, I am not going back. I am going with my husband. According to Dharma, oh Yamraj, my Dharma, my duty is to serve my husband. And no one should be allowed to take me away from my duty towards my husband. You know, they said, these words of Dharma, when Yamraj heard these words on the principle of Dharma, he said to Savitri, he says, listen, Savitri, I am very happy with you. I am pleased with your words. You see these words that you are saying to me? It's like poetry to my ears. Ask for any boon. I'm so happy for you. Ask for a boon. This is what she needed for, right? She says that, Lord, give me back the life of my husband. He says, no. Hold on. Ask for anything else. You see that? That can't happen. Because this is the way it's supposed to be. He died, he has to go to a wherever, and this is the process. We can't go against this process. She says, okay. Then, she said, my father-in-law has suffered tremendously because he was blind. Restore his sight. So he said, okay, so shall it. So the sight of the father-in-law was now restored. He said to him, Yamraj said, listen, so you ask for your boon, I give you a boon, you go back home. You get your boon, you go and see your father-in-law, you can see everything. You go back. You seem very tired now. Look how far you would have followed me. Go back home. She said, how can a wife be tired when she's in the company of her husband? How can a wife be tired when she's in the company of her husband? She's near to her husband. Wherever you take him, definitely I will be there. Savitri Devi, she continued. Very, very beautiful words to Yamraj. Yamaraj again he said that whatever you have said to me, it all conforms with dharma. It's exactly what I would be telling someone to do. And I'm extremely happy. After a long time, he says, ask another book. Give him back to husband. He said, no, not this. It can't look like me. And so she said, okay, my father-in-law would have lost his kingdom, give him back his kingdom. He said, okay, so shall it be. Go back now. Go back and you stay in the kingdom with your father-in-law. And he said, no. No, Yamaraj, this is not how it's supposed to be. All good books, she says to Yamaraj, all scripture tells us that keeping the company of a saintly person, nothing could go wrong. And you are Devata. I have your company, have great friendship with you. How can you tell me to leave the company of the saint? And all good books tell us, be in the company of the saint. Yamaraj shook his head and says, please, ask your next book. So she asks again, give me back to your husband. He said, no, this can't work. She says, okay. If this can't work, then my father, grant him blessings so that he'll have hundreds of sons. Remember, he asked for a son first, right? And he got a daughter. So he said, blessings so that he will have hundreds of sons. He says, okay, so shall it be. Go back home. Go back and say about the brothers and so on. She says that no problem. How can I be far away from my husband? We have kept company for so long. How can I separate from him? There is none in this world that I can trust like my husband. There is none in this world who can protect me like my husband. There is none in this world like my husband. How can I live without him? If I am unable to get the soul of my husband, for my husband to be alive, then what is the use of I going back to the kingdom of my father-in-law? What is the use of I having so many brothers? What is the use of my father-in-law could see? What is the use of all of these things when I would be without my husband? There's no value for my life anymore if I cannot